it's not your usual NIMBY where they put a garbage dump right in, the middle of a community of color. Here they're burning the sugar cane and making sure that the toxic fumes don't blow east to Palm Beach. But I think one of the things he'll be telling us, and I'll turn it over in a second, is that one of the complications is, like big insurance, big sugar gives money to everybody. And there are a lot of Democrats that are, bound by the money that they're getting, as either Sinclair Lewis or Upton Sinclair, I forget which one, said it's very difficult to convince a man of something if his paycheck depends upon him thinking the reverse. So with that, let me just turn it over to Patrick.
I'm just going to share my screen here. Hold on.
Okay.
Not sure why PowerPoint's not showing up. Let's try that again.
There we go.
You able to see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Fix that. So, all right, first and foremost, thank you so much for inviting me here to present tonight. To start things off, I'll focus on just a general overview of the issue of pre-harvest sugar field burning. I'll touch upon the solution of green harvesting, and then get into the details and history of our grassroots-led environmental justice campaign. Touch upon a few current events at the end, and I will try to leave open plenty of time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'll get started. And to begin with, just to give you a context of the scale of the burning and also why it takes place. First and foremost, every October and lasting through May is the annual sugarcane harvesting season. During the sugarcane harvesting season, on a nearly daily basis, sugar growers apply for permits prior to harvest to remove the outer leaves and tops of the sugarcane plant, which just leaves the sugar-bearing stalk left to be harvested. This practice dates back to the era before mechanical harvesting, when it was made much easier for manual sugarcane cutters to cut the thick fibrous sugarcane plant and also remove harmful pests from the field, such as snakes, before harvest. Flash forward to the era of modern mechanical sugarcane harvesters. The practice is maintained to make for a quicker and cheaper harvest by overall reducing the amount of transportation and processing costs associated with handling all the excess biomass material. And this practice takes place primarily in all the counties bordering Lake Okeechobee. The vast majority of the sugarcane acreage, roughly 75%, is within the Everglades agricultural area in western Palm Beach County, but sugarcane is also grown and hence burned in Hendry County, Glades County, Martin County, and to a growing extent also in Highlands County. And considering the scale of the burning, especially in Palm Beach County, where the vast majority of the acreage of sugarcane is grown and burned, the EPA's National Emissions Inventory database keeps a separate category of the pollutants associated with agricultural field burning. And far and away, Palm Beach County alone produces more of these pollutants pollutants associated with agricultural field burning than any other county in the entire United States. So what's included in these pollutants released for burning each year? There's many toxic pollutants ranging from particulate matter pollution, carcinogenic aromatic hydrocarbons. In fact, it's been detailed by an FIU study in the past that during the burning season, the amount of PAHs measured is as much as 15 times more than what's recorded in the non-burning season. Also, the practice produces carcinogens such as benzene, carbonyls such as formaldehyde and insecticide. And in fact, 89% of the carbonyls produced in Palm Beach County alone comes from sugarcane burning. Also increases the amount of overall greenhouse gas emissions associated with agriculture here in Florida, and releases dioxins associated with the combustion of pesticides, sugarcane burning. And despite the wide range of these documented toxic pollutants within the region, there's only one faulty air quality monitor within the entire region, which only measures for particulate matter 2.5 and focuses on 24-hour averages. And for those of you that have gotten a chance to read the latest ProPublica and Palm Beach Post reporting, they highlighted the fact that this non-regulatory monitor was known to be faulty, but yet has remained in place since 2013. And the sugar industry itself has hidden behind the readings of this air quality monitor, claiming they have some of the cleanest air quality within the state of Florida, while not taking into account that this singular air quality monitor is not equipped to fully monitor, let alone regulate the vast amounts of toxic air pollution that is released through this industrial scale burning that takes place every year. There's a mountain of medical research and data linking the known pollutants from sugarcane burning to a variety of health ailments, such as respiratory diseases like asthma, COPD, bronchitis, to various forms of cancer. Also, there's a lot of research that has shown that pregnant mothers who live in communities downwind where they're exposed to sugarcane burning have higher rates of infant mortality, lower birth weights, and preterm births as well. And what I've included, the two photos here, is taken from the EPA's Environmental Justice Index mapping tool, which takes into account a variety of demographic and environmental factors in zip codes around the country. And as you'll see here, for lifetime residents living within the Glades community zip codes, which are surrounded by the most sugarcane fields, they range from the 80 to 100 percentile risk rate for both respiratory health impacts and cancer risk. And as part of the developments of the recent reporting, it has shown that residents within Belle Glade during the harvesting season, there's an uptick in hospital admissions by 35% as compared to other similar situated urban zip codes throughout the state of Florida, which all points to the existing research within other states and around the world, which documents how nearby communities' health are impacted by the known toxic pollutants released by pre-harvest sugar field burn. Now, to focus on what makes this a particularly glaring example of an environmental justice issue. First and foremost, the broad term of environmental justice refers to the double standard within environmental regulations present within our country, where all too often lower income communities of color have to disproportionately bear the negative impacts associated with pollution, whereby more affluent and predominantly whiter communities are given prioritized protection from said pollutants. And in breaking things down further into this specific issue, and what makes it such a glaring example is you have to go back to the origin of the sugarcane burning rules, which are largely in place despite some superficial changes in recent years. That goes back to the early 90s, 1991 in particular, when the communities, affluent communities of Wellington and Royal Palm Beach were being built out. Folks in these communities for the first time were exposed to the smoke and ash that is annually produced from pre-harvest sugar field burning. And they made a large and well-documented public uproar against the practice. And rather than what we are seeing today in response to complaints from residents within the Glades community, the state and the sugar industry acted relatively quickly in implementing wind direction and wind speed based rules, whereby when the wind direction would be projected to carry the smoke and ash plumes towards central and eastern Palm Beach County, then a burn permit would be denied by the Florida Forest Service on a given day. However, when the winds are projected to blow towards the Glades communities, which are predominantly African American and Latino lower income communities, then permits are approved with otherwise minimal protections put in place, which makes those communities have to disproportionately bear the brunt of this toxic pollution. And I should note this practice is regulated by the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, to whom the responsibility for daily permitting lies upon the Florida Forest Service. But to really put things in perspective of what makes this an environmental justice issue, you really have to put yourself in the shoes of the folks who live in the community. And, try to imagine living in a community in Florida where 8 months out of the year, it snows, what the residents call black snow, which I've included some photos of here. And the residents in these communities, have to foot the bill for persistent cleanup as far as cleaning their cars, pressure cleaning their homes. And I hear a lot that folks have to change their AC filters every month during the harvesting season to keep up with the soot buildup. But even worse is talking with individuals who either themselves or their families suffer from health issues that are exacerbated during the harvesting season, is they have to take in calculations whether or not they should even leave the house on a given day during the harvesting season. And in fact, sadly enough, I've spoken with folks who suffer from COPD, where they say it can literally be a life or death situation on whether or not they leave the house, depending on how bad the burning is on a given day during the harvesting season. And then, there's parents who have to worry about their children, who far too many rely upon nebulizers within the community. And they have to take into consideration whether they'll let the kids play outside on a given day. And a picture I've included within this slide in the bottom corner there was taken by an elementary school teacher from Rosenwald Elementary, which captures a sugarcane burn taking place right outside school property during school hours. And in fact, this school in the past had to be evacuated due to smoke plumes from a nearby sugarcane burn completely inundating the school. Several kids had to be rushed to the hospital for suffering from severe asthma attacks. And unfortunately, these type of scenarios, the picture you see there, where it looks like someone's house is on fire, is a regular part of daily life and all done to reduce overhead costs. And it's a practice which is completely unnecessary given the modern advances in technology and sugarcane harvesting, which makes the stories that I continually hear from residents all the more frustrating as to why this practice persists. To further underscore both the environmental justice impacts and health risks associated with this practice, we're all still in the grips of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the Glades communities is still very much reeling from the effects of the Delta variant. And early on when the pandemic started, the Glades communities were emerging as a local hotspot within South Florida. We also monitored developments which found that exposure to particulate matter pollution in particular posed an increased risk for those suffering from COVID or those recovering from COVID. And we also monitored how the CDC early on within the pandemic was putting out recommendations for alternatives to open field burning to be practiced in areas where the smoke would have exposure to nearby communities. And we drew attention, the Commissioner Freed, attention to this issue, and made it very publicly known that this should be the impetus for there to be the institution of protective burn-free buffer zones on the sugarcane fields closest to the Glades communities. However, this all fell on deaf ears. So this, further underscores the environmental justice nature of this campaign, whereby you can imagine that if a practice like this was taking place in a more affluent, more heavily populated area, then certainly there would likely have been more decisive action rather than the complete brushing off and ignoring the valid complaints from Glades community residents who are now, despite still being in the wake of this pandemic, about to have to endure as of October 1st, a completely new harvesting season. And I do have to share a frustrating anecdote that was shared with me at the beginning of this year, where a gentleman contacted me and told me that his father had been hospitalized for COVID. He had been cleared, and first day he returned to work, he was working near a sugarcane burning field. And apparently at the end of the day, he collapsed and was rushed to the hospital and later on died. This individual does believe that the exposure to sugarcane smoke did play a factor in that. And I'd also like to draw your attention, which I thought puts things really into perspective, of a comment left by a local resident. And this resident suffers from COPD. And it really draws attention to, when we're all dealing with the lockdown and told that staying in our homes can help us fight the disease and help protect our own health. And to him, he drew the analogy, hey, this is how I feel during the harvesting season. And, this is something that, I'm sure in your communities, you would not want to tolerate, nor should any communities have to tolerate this, especially for an outdated and unnecessary harvesting practice. So also, it's important to note the environmental impacts caused by sugarcane burning. So all that pollution, including phosphorus and nitrogen within the persistent ashfall associated with the practice, makes its way back down to nearby waterways through the process of atmospheric deposition. Also, which is of a big concern for the long-term viability of agriculture in the region, that the persistent burning each year speeds up rate of soil erosion and subsidence, which furthermore can reduce the water retention of nearby soils and increase nutrient runoff into nearby waterways. And what we'll get into later is how the alternative to pre-harvest burning can actually reduce rates of soil erosion and help build up the vulnerable muck soils within the region. Also, there's the greenhouse gas emissions associated with the practice. And, certainly threats posed to local wildlife, which is made very clear when you're in the region and you see the vultures circling sugarcane burns, eager to swoop down on animals that have been caught up in the flames. So the alternative is green mechanical harvesting. What is that? Put simply, it's using modern mechanical harvesters, such as the modern mechanical harvesters that the Florida sugar industry operates. And it's simply slowing down the speed and modulating the refractor fans which are equipped to be able to mechanically separate the outer leaves and tops while harvesting the sugarcane bearing billet. And among nations who have access to modern mechanical harvesters, it has been becoming the predominant practice, which I'll provide a little bit more information on in upcoming slides. But first and foremost, and a very important thing to take into account is that where green harvesting is implemented, farmers economically utilize what the Florida industry refers to as sugarcane trash. And among the many uses that can be had is it can be baled and raked and brought back to the mills for co-energy generation, along with bagasse, which is the leftover byproduct after the sugarcane has been refined from the sugarcane bearing stocks. Also, that same sugarcane trash can be used with bagasse in the production of biofuels. In fact, there's a company out there now that is looking to use sugarcane trash in Florida in the formation of biodiesel fuel for the shipping industry. And also the sugarcane trash can be used as mulch. I've even been contacted and educated on the fact that it can be used in the formation of disintegrants for medicine. And, it does lead to the old analogy that one man's trash can be another man's treasure. And, an important thing to keep into mind is that by utilizing this sugarcane trash and partnering with other companies, that this can create new jobs within the region and also generate a new source of revenue for the sugar industry itself, and what turns out to be a win-win for the whole community. In fact, U.S. Sugar itself had a press release that went out in 2008, which then they were planning on partnering with a company to create a sugarcane to ethanol facility in Florida, where within that same press release, they announced how instead of burning the sugarcane, they'd bring the trash back to help in the production of those fuels. And they said it'd be a win for the environment and also a win for the agricultural community, which it can certainly continue to be a win to this day. And I got to learn firsthand more about modern green harvesting techniques when I was fortunate enough to go to Brazil, the state of Sao Paulo, to tour the Green Cane Project, which is the largest organic regenerative agricultural project of its kind. There I learned that they produce up to 1/3 of the world's organic sugarcane supply. And just 2 sugarcane mills there provided enough electricity to completely support the energy needs for a nearby city of nearly 600,000 people. But what was interesting is that back in 1986, they began to phase out pre-harvest sugar field burning in favor of green harvesting. And I learned that the sugarcane trash itself has become a vital part of their regenerative agricultural practices due to the nutrients it returns to the soil over time, and helping to increase soil carbon levels, increase microbial life, and ultimately increase overall yields. And being their organic regenerative practice, they phased out the use of chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides. And the underlying philosophy of this method, summarized by what they call ecosystem revitalization agriculture, is really an opposite of the paradigm of industrial agriculture practice in the U.S., when they first and foremost focus in on the health of the soils and the surrounding ecosystem. And knowing that if plants and crops that grow in healthy soils and surrounding ecosystem will then in turn become more resilient and over time produce higher yields. And I do have completely separate presentations that I've given just focusing in on what I learned at the Green Cane Project. But just one, big takeaway is the fact that as far as the agricultural sector helping to address climate change, is that regenerative agricultural practices help increase carbon sequestration. What better way in looking at things in a local context and all the issues we have with the Everglades ecosystem. And if we can develop and start implementing regenerative agricultural practices in the EAA to help mitigate climate change, strengthen the surrounding ecosystem, and also maintain viable and profitable agricultural operations. A true win-win-win. And like I was saying earlier, among nations that have access to the modern mechanical harvesters, this has been becoming the dominant trend to phase out pre-harvest sugar field burning, as many of these nations, have followed the medical research and have fully acknowledged the surrounding health and environmental impacts, but have also been motivated by the economic benefits of utilizing the excess biomass material instead of wasting it. It's the predominant practice in Australia. Brazil, due in large part to the success of the Green Cane Project and wide body of research pointing to the negative impacts of sugarcane burning. There was a law and industry agreement called the Green Cane Protocol, in which now has made it so in any sugarcane growing operation where they have access to modern mechanical harvesters, and modern mechanical harvesters are capable of operating on the terrain, that sugarcane is green harvested. And they have a very large focus on, as far as their biofuels sector, which incentivizes them to use up the entirety of the plant as well. And even nations in Africa, such as Zimbabwe, have fully implemented the sugarcane to energy Brazilian style of sugarcane harvesting. And Thailand and India have actively instituted laws to start phasing out the practice of pre-harvest sugar field burning. And ironically enough, part of what Thailand has been doing has been providing farmers with subsidies to use to have access to modern mechanical harvesters, which can make green harvesting more accessible. Same harvesters that Florida sugarcane growers have access to. And the state of Louisiana has been much more progressive in their adoption to alternatives of burning. And in Louisiana, they, in part due to complaints against the practice, predominant practice is not pre-harvest burning, where burning still takes place, but post-harvest burning, which can produce slightly less overall pollution impacts, but still can cause problems. But nonetheless, the trend is clear, and it is certainly time for the Florida sugar industry to start modernizing their practices. And as I was saying before, the benefits that can be found in Florida by adopting this type of agriculture is certainly, very beneficial. And also, unfortunately, there has not been enough resources dedicated to researching how green harvesting can be tailored specifically so it can be most successful within the state of Florida. However, existing research, the only long-term research comparing green harvested sugarcane to burnt sugarcane has found that over the course of the long term, there's no significant differences in yield. It did find instances where soil temperatures could be reduced, which in the rare event we do get near freezing weather, could increase risk of frost damage. But otherwise, with investing into certain infrastructure adjustments, partnering with other companies so that they can help bale and process the sugarcane trash could certainly, help speed up this much needed process in the state of Florida. So now getting into our campaign. The beginnings of our campaign go back to 2015, shortly after the Sierra Club had announced their opposition to the practice of sugarcane burning via a petition filed with the EPA. The Sierra Club was contacted by a former mayor of the city of South Bay. She had learned about the Sierra Club stance from the sugar industry itself, who had come to give a presentation basically saying, watch out for the Sierra Club. They're just trying to, put the industry out of business. It's all part of some conspiracy, which, is the narrative that has been put out and is still put out against our campaign since the beginning. But, at this first meeting, in which a core group of community leaders who are still at the forefront of leading our campaign within the Glades communities to this day took place. And, these folks, and many of whom made up the initial leadership team, had lived in other places throughout the country and then moved back to contribute to their home communities, which is when they started noticing not just issues within their own personal health issues, such as allergies and respiratory issues getting kicked up within the harvesting season, but noticing, a concerning trend among, folks in their community suffering from various health issues, and especially those such as the respiratory issues that got kicked up during the harvesting season. And then, one of the biggest things was, and what our campaign has been primarily focused on is spreading awareness that sugarcane does not have to be burned. That there are alternatives. In fact, the Florida sugar industry regularly practices the alternative of green harvesting. Whenever burn permits are denied on a given day during the harvesting season, rather than fall back on the integrated harvesting schedule, they'll go ahead and green harvest them due to the conditions of certain fields. They'll green harvest them. And what we found out on two separate occasions about going on U.S. Sugar's Sugarland tour in Clewiston and asking about green harvesting, we were told that the certain fields, such as the field surrounding the Walmart in Clewiston, was green harvested and not burned. And when we asked why, we were told it was done as a courtesy to the residents of the city of Clewiston. Well, fundamentally, this is what this campaign is all about, is extending that courtesy to all residents within the surrounding communities, and also spreading awareness that if this practice is implemented, it can open up a new economic opportunity. Not just in the exciting new opportunities in the realm of biofuels, but also open up a lot more outside investment opportunities by removing the persistent ashfall that businesses and homeowners have to deal with consistently throughout that 8-month harvesting season. So in addition to growing awareness on those issues, our campaign in understanding that a transition from one corporate practice to another, like it's not going to happen overnight. There are certainly challenges that take place along the way, but the first step should be the institution of burn-free protective buffer zones in nearby the communities that are most impacted and surrounded by sugarcane burning. And then, and then from that point on, more and more grain harvesting can be implemented until there's gradual phase out. And we were optimistic when our campaign leadership team got to meet with Commissioner Freed while she was on the campaign trail. That we had someone who's very sympathetic, who was going to work to address this issue. But that tune changed very quickly after she had taken office, and our campaign was cut out of the decisions that were being made as far as the changes to the sugarcane burning rules, which have largely been superficial, in that when you really break them down, there's still prioritized protection for communities in the East, which, due to the fact that wind speed and direction can be unpredictable, the communities in the East and all over the region are still impacted. But for the folks that live in the Glades community surrounded by the majority of sugarcane burning, the superficial changes have not provided the protection that has been demanded. And that's why our campaign has been taking a strong stance in publicly demanding Commissioner Freed institute real substantive changes that will protect the health and welfare of the Glades community and lead to a transition to green harvesting and the new economic opportunity and many quality of life benefits that could bring as well. So in response to our growing campaign efforts within the communities, the industry itself has not taken warmly to it. And far too often, instead of any sort of a substantive debate on the issues or us being invited to sit at the table, there's simply kind of emblematic of a photo of a mailer that was sent out right after our campaign had sent out some mailers locally, which really tries to put forth a narrative that not just the Sierra Club, but somehow local community leaders who are leading our campaign are part of some conspiracy theory to put the industry out of business and destroy the communities, which is just nothing further than the truth. The messaging from day one has been to push the industry to become better neighbors to the surrounding communities. And interestingly enough, a lot of the ire that our campaign and the individuals our campaign are used to receiving has now been directed on the Palm Beach Post and ProPublica in the wake of the recent reporting. But the same underlying narrative put forth that instead of challenging the substance of these claims, it's character attacks and bias and things of that nature. But certainly it's no secret the power and influence of the sugar cane industry and how they are some of the biggest employers within the region. And so we call it the silent majority. Is many folks when you get talking to them off the record within the community and they become educated that, hey, the sugar industry doesn't have to green harvest, then, of course, they support an end to burning, not having to deal with the smoke and ash each year. But publicly, there's always that shadow and fear of any reprisals, as many folks have relatives who work within the industry, et cetera. And certainly, local leaders within the area have have knowingly put forth these false narratives and put forth false attacks against the community leaders who have been leading this campaign too. But that just comes with the territory. So to move things up into more current events, I'm sure many of you are aware this past legislative session, there's a very controversial bill expanding the Right to Farm Act, which, due to the nature of these changes, can be rightfully called the Right to Harm Act. To give a little further context, there is a major class action lawsuit which is being put forth by a private law firm, the Berman Law Group. The Sierra Club has no ties to this class action as a nonprofit organization. It's not what we do. And none of our campaign leaders are active litigants, but part of the narrative put forth in the community, it's as if, the Sierra Club is the plaintiffs, which is not true. But however, rightfully so, when we saw the nature of what was in this bill, we led the charge in spreading public awareness that, hey, this is exactly a reaction to this class action lawsuit. And what was included within the bill, just to break things down, is that particulate matter pollution is included as a protected farming practice. In addition to the fact that you wouldn't be able to bring a lawsuit unless you lived within a half mile of an existing farm, which, again, knowing that smoke and ash from sugarcane fields can travel as far as 26, 27 miles was another, key element that this was clearly designed in response to the lawsuit. And really, it's designed to close the doors of the courthouse going forward, for any resident that might be impacted and have a rightful cause of action from the top known toxic pollution produced by this practice. And, it really was a showing of what money can buy you in Tallahassee, as the Miami Herald did some great reporting showing that in the 2020 election cycle as well, there's over $11 million spent in the state of Florida alone by the sugar industry. And very strong bipartisan support of the bill said it all. Among many politicians who supported it, who would absolutely know better. Was really telling and unfortunate that so many politicians were willing, to cower to the will of the sugar industry. But some champions did emerge, specifically Representative Omari Hardy, Representative Anna Escamani did a great job showing moral courage in knowing that this bill was likely going to pass anyway, but speaking truth to power and really highlighting the voices of our community leaders and really chopping away at the narrative that the sugar industry works so hard to put out, that everybody in the Glades community is, lockstep with the industry, supports burning and all of that. So, despite that bill ultimately passing, it brought a lot of new attention and awareness into this glaring environmental justice issue. And I think really woke the public up into the gross influence that the sugar industry has on our politics, not just state and local, but this also extends federally as well. And fast forward up to more recent events, was the ProPublica Palm Beach Post partnership reporting that really kind of underlined and brought new data and really uplifted things that our campaign had been saying from day one. Look, you can't claim that the air is clean and there's no problems based off of one faulty air quality monitor and the fact that There's been no long-term peer-reviewed studies, as there has been elsewhere, where sugarcane burning takes place, clearly showing the links between the pollution and health issues, and really underlying the complicity of state agencies by highlighting just the unwillingness of the Palm Beach County Department of Health, for one, in following the inquiries and recommendations of studies and professionals that there should be more research done in this issue. But nonetheless, through the use of local monitors, they were able to show that during the harvesting season, when smoke plumes were blowing towards the Glades communities, there's much as particulate matter pollution spikes increased by as much as 4 times than the overall background average. Which was not picked up on the regional air quality, non-regulatory air quality monitor. And they'd also find what is clearly in line with a lot of other health research out there, that there is a significant spike in hospital admissions for respiratory issues during the harvesting season as compared to urban areas with urban pollution elsewhere within the state of Florida. But also an important thing to address is the fact that there was a lot of calls for studies and more air quality monitoring. And there's going to be a NASA study, which is great. It'll bring more data and attention to the issue. But however, what's important to know is that, these are long-term processes that can give politicians and state leaders a non-committal way out and saying, I support more monitoring, I support more studies, while folks in the Glades continue to have to suffer from these practices. So, our campaign is putting down a hard line that, protective buffer zones are needed now. The industry, if the industry is not going to take steps to do green harvesting on their own, then state regulatory bodies who have a duty to protect residents need to. And to give you an example of why it can be dangerous just to call for or settle for more air quality monitoring and studies is look at Cancer Alley in Louisiana.
Yeah.
They've increased their monitoring, and the monitoring has consistently shown violations of harmful, toxic, carcinogenic chemicals. But there's been no substantive changes. Without a political will for change, then really all the other stuff is just theater, unfortunately. But when I close off my overview presentations, I think that this short video, which features an interview by one of our campaign leaders, Keena Phillips, really describes what this campaign is all about better than I can.
I am just like so amazed right now at what I'm looking at. Like, we have green harvesting going on right now, where they're harvesting the cane, the product, without burning the product. Things that was said that could never be done because of different reasons they came up with. And we see now that you have the equipment, you have the things in place to make sure that we have fresh air, we have clean air here, that our people don't continue to get sick. So I'm excited. I'm very, very, very excited that our communities have been considered in this day to green harvest. We've been fighting almost 6 years for this to happen. This should be done in every field around Buck City, every field around the Tri-City, and Clewiston, every field. All of our lives should be considered. Not just today, but every day.
And this in favor of green harvesting.
When I walk out the door, this is how close the smoke covers over our community.
All right. So I put some links for more information and ways to get involved here on the screen. But I know I ran a little later than I thought I would. So I'd be happy to address any questions right now, if there are any.
There's going to be plenty. I see Julie has her hand up already, but I would like to just ask you one thing when you were talking about the the interplay between the individual farmers and the industry. I mean, when I was reading things, the defenses in the Post, we love it, and it's just those outside agitators that are hurting our small farmers. And that video you showed, there was the harvester. Okay, what I'm wondering is, are these small farmers, are they like sharecroppers and Big Sugar owns it all, and they're just working for them? Or are these individual entrepreneurs for whom it would be difficult, to go out and get one of those harvesters?
So the big three sugarcane mills own the variety of the sugarcane acreage, and there are a few independent farmers, but even these, and then there's the Sugarcane Growers Co-op, which is a collection of smaller farmers. But as far as the independent farmers go, they don't own the expensive mechanical harvesters, so they contract out to the sugar mills that they sell their sugarcane to do the harvesting. And a good example was we approached some small Seminole Indian farmers with a grant opportunity offered up by the USDA to do a green harvesting pilot program. And, we were told that would cause too much trouble as far as having to renegotiate their harvesting contracts. So, when they're not actively in control of the harvesting practice, that's a big, obviously disincentive as far as what they can be able to do. But there's a key element, and I have this, there's a kind of outline that I have on the website about the best way to go forward, is that because none of the Florida sugar mills employ any type of cane cleaning infrastructure, which is commonplace where green harvesting takes place, meaning whatever is brought back to the mill in the trucks or in the train is what goes directly into the mill to be processed. And when green harvesting takes place in Florida, it's inevitable that trash will go along with the stocks, and that can reduce overall milling efficiency, in addition to adding more weight to the transportation costs. So if they actually penalize farmers, or more accurately, the truck drivers that come in, and they take samples based on what's the sample of leafy biomass versus actual cane billets. So that's a process that in and of itself provides a disincentive. So that's just another example whereby if they included cane cleaning infrastructure, where they could take the trash and then mix that with the bagasse to generate more electricity, and that would certainly help a lot as well. But the biggest help would be partnering with companies, and there's companies eager to come in. One is such company is Verde Visions, whereby they could work with the farmers to collect trash, process it, and bale it for the use of biofuels. And then also, there's one of the challenges is as far as the transition period. So if you're going to go to green harvesting, all the research is kind of like with any regenerative agriculture operation. There's a transition period where you're not going to gain the higher yields until the soils are able to adapt. And that could range anywhere from 3 to the highest end 8 years. until you can receive those benefits. So a lot of farmers that are more focused on, the year-to-year profits and, bottom line, aren't comfortable taking that kind of risk. So that's an element where the government can come in as part of the already existing federal sugar program and help support farmers who undertake that transition.
Yeah. Julie, sorry to.
Oh, thanks. So first, thanks, Patrick. This was super informative. And this subject is very interesting, probably to everybody, because we've been hearing about this for years, the amount of pollution and the problem. And yet it seems like there's a simple solution and we don't have it happening. But when you were talking about these harm bills, are you talking about SB 88 and its companion HB 1601? The
Yes.
farming operation right. So basically those prevent class action lawsuits against farmers, which would include sugar farmers, big sugar farmers, and just allow them to continue polluting air and water.
Yeah, well, particularly in within the language of that bill there, and the proof was in the pudding. In the committee notes, it referenced the class action sugarcane burning lawsuit, and
Right.
The fact that there was a perceived need and that the whole legislature jumped on board and thought this was okay. That
It's shocking.
particulate matter pollution needed to be separated and protected as a bona fide agricultural practice.
Right.
Obviously everybody can support the fact that you've got a long-term farming operation and it produces foul smells and odors, and somebody moves in and tries to sue them out of business. In fact, the existing right to farm bill had those protections.
Right.
So the key words were modernize the right to farm bill, and it was all smoke and mirrors. And just the saddest thing is the knowing complicity for so many politicians to look the other way because it's big sugar.
Right. Right. Including our own local representative, Mr. Caruso, actually. Well, thank you for your time. And I really appreciate the presentation, and sorry that you're, being attacked with negative information and the like, but thank you for your hard
comes
work.
with the territory. I
Right.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bob?
Hey, so Patrick, let me underscore with my gratitude for a superb presentation. So has any study been done that actually can project for that 3 to 8 year transition period, what the projected drop in net margins would be to the companies? What is the real cost that they would incur that could potentially be mitigated, through other factors versus those costs that are simply going to be there and they're going to incur it and there's nothing that can be done, and is the cause, of course, for some of their pushback. Has any study been done to actually determine that net margin impact of the transition?
No, but there certainly should. And I think, the best way to summarize is I've had some productive conversations with folks at the University of IFAS Everglade Research Facility in Belglade, which, those are the folks that when it comes to sugarcane in Florida would carry out such studies. And, it comes down to resources. They'd love to do more research on green harvesting, which would then lead, to figuring out, because there's multiple different soil types. It's not just the muck soils in the EAA. There's the sandy soils, which in fact, it would likely be more successful quicker on the sandy soils than the muck soils. But the problem is the industry itself provides the funding for a lot of the research that they're able to engage in. There just has not been the impetus to fund this much needed research. And then not to, when you really break it down in knowing the millions of dollars that are spent, lobbying by the sugar industry, which is no secret. and then the very generous benefits from the federal sugar program, that they could be provided a very safe cushion in resources if they put their political will towards getting this type of funding research, but it's just not where their priorities lie. Next question. Is there any other questions? Is it Deborah?
Hi, thank you very much for this presentation. It's really informative. What is the best thing for us as consumers of sugar to do? I don't buy much sugar, but should I be buying it from Louisiana or Brazil or somewhere instead of Florida?
Well, let me tell you, organic sugarcane, if you look at the USDA field crop organic certifications, they ban the burning of field crops unless very narrow circumstances are met, which means Florida Crystals, the organic sugarcane that they produce on the organic acreage that they operate in the state of Florida is green harvested. They don't like, they won't draw any attention to that, but it has to be green harvested. And I think that the best thing that folks can do as consumers is when you're going to buy sugar, look for organic sugar, because you know that that is green harvested, and then you send a message to the industry that, hey, this is what the consumers want. So that I think is the best direction I can give you. Always look for certified organic.
So I was looking for, and I do buy the Florida Crystal certified organic. So that's okay to do?
Yes, and hopefully they can do a lot more of that. And let's see. I think we have somebody here, Mr. Almazan, who works for Florida Crystals, and then maybe if he feels comfortable, he can speak to the organic sugarcane that they grow. But yes, organic would be the way to go.
Thank you.
Mike, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Patrick, I mean, you certainly have, mentioned Representative Escamani, Representative Party, among others, who are trying to, carry the message and, influence, change toward green harvesting. When I think of the electeds who, cover the area that, is most enduring these problems, I think Senator Polsky, Representative Skidmore, Commissioner McKinley. Are you having any luck at all with any of these folks or any of the other candidates for CD20? Besides Representative Omar Hardy, are you seeing anything in terms of potential support among current or future electeds?
Well, as far as some of the current electeds who you have mentioned, it's largely either silence or just supporting what the industry says when it comes to this issue, and in understanding the political realities and the fact that the real fix to this issue is not within the legislature, but within the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. There's one person that has the authority and can change the regulations overnight. So certainly that's where more of our efforts have been taken. But yes, it's pretty sad that you have a situation where a lot of folks who represent the Glades communities in particular forget that they don't just represent the sugar industry, they represent the constituents who live there as well. And all sorts of stories of things that are said off record versus on record, which really affirms what we all know is common sense. It's just a matter of self-preservation that these, politicians, certainly aren't going to want to upset the sugar industry per se. Not to say that there aren't any, but I think really the biggest key factor among that is, the more the public takes this to the politicians, and the more that the clear data just, shows, hey, this is wrong. Hey, wait, the industry doesn't have to do this. And the more that's brought to their attention, and the more that, the folks like the folks who lead our campaign, that their voices are elevated, not just the hand-chosen industry representatives who say, hey, we love sugarcane burning. And the folks of real glazed residents are put out there, the less that politicians have to hide behind as an excuse. And that's the way, that's really the way forward. And as far as the current congressional race, certainly as a C3 campaign, we can't go out and endorse candidates, but certainly putting this information out there, something we have been doing, and we look forward, and I encourage all you in future debates to ask questions about sugarcane burning. But I think a better question is not, do you support more monitoring, or would you support more studies? Which is really, substantively, an easy answer there is, what can you do to support green harvesting?
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation.
Patrick, thank you, because that clarified. I was going to ask where the power resides. You had mentioned the commissioner. I was wondering if the governor, had any power. She's of course running for governor now, and I mean the front runners are her and Charlie Crist, and I went back, and it is Upton Sinclair, and the quote that I began with: it's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon his not understanding it. Not just salary, but his election or her election depends on it. And I think that's, that's something that we really need to confront. I have no idea where Charlie Crist stands on this, but I do know that when he was a Republican governor, he granted clemency to 150,000 former felons, knowing, as he must have, that most of them were Democrats and might vote against him the next time. And that 150,000 was double the amount that Jeb Bush granted clemency to in 8 years, and forget about Rick Scott with under 3,000 and DeSantis. So, but I think that is. I don't know. I mean, it may be that neither one of them are going to help out on this, but that doesn't mean that we can't be asking them that question when they make their appearance at the debates and presenting before our clubs. So I think Nancy had her hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's a club, because some of the people whose names were mentioned, I don't want to identify out them, but I've tried to contact them. Do you think as a club we could put out a statement? Could we put pressure on the DEC?
Yeah.
I will tell you, the last leadership blue I went to, which, because of the pandemic, I don't even know what year it was. But, there was Nikki Fried spoke, and there was a big sign for Florida Crystals. I mean, I think at some level, somebody has to start talking and, saying, hey, we know about this, and it is ultimately the agriculture commissioner that maybe we could just take a statement. I don't know if you're the president. I don't know how that works, or if there's anything we can do, or at least write an article for your.
Yes. No, I think it's a great idea, and we should be doing it.
I'd be happy to provide whatever background support you'd need to do something like that, and that'd be greatly appreciated.
That's great. Yeah, no, I'd love to run it by you. I mean, you had the article in the Sun Sentinel, which in without the level of detail that you went into tonight, I mean, it's almost a no-brainer. One thing makes people sick, I saw a letter in the Palm Beach Post from someone who said that the burning of sugar was identified as one of the things that helped bring about the collapse of the Mayan civilization. And what you're saying, on the one hand, you have something that makes people sick and makes the earth or the soil sick. And on the other hand, you have something that doesn't make people sick and creates economic opportunity for them. So it really is a no-brainer.
So, hey, Mike, I was actually planning to kind of come back to the Sinclair quote, but looking at it from a slightly different dimension in trying to understand the tensions that currently exist. And where I'm going with that, and I'm looking for your point of view on this, Patrick, is what to any extent are there tensions between the folks who live in the muck, who are not employed by Big Sugar, versus those who are employed by Big Sugar, in terms of preservation of their jobs, any concerns about, future employment opportunities, et cetera. Is there strong cross-constituent support for green harvesting in the Glades?
Oh, sure. So, folks, and in our experience, it's like as far as when you get to talk to real residents and, it's not public, they don't have to worry, and look over their shoulder. It's like, oh yeah, why not? But then there are folks who do believe what the sugar industry puts out. That these radical environmentalists are trying to destroy the communities, push everybody out, and that and there's a lot of fear spread that don't listen to anything they say because they're just trying to economically devastate the Glades. So we do run into that, but then a big problem is that a lot of the local leaders, really keep pushing these false narratives forward and refuse to engage in substantive dialogue. That can help. That we've found has influenced folks to be more wary of them getting involved and publicly engaging with our campaign. So it's a mixed bag. As far as a lot of the higher wage jobs available within the sugar industry are folks that commute into the Glades. And there's a statistic among folks that identify as working in the agricultural industry within the Glades. The median income still hovers within the 20s. So, there's not as much as it's put out there that everybody works in the sugar industry and they're this economic monolith. In modern times, there's less than there were in the past of folks that directly and full-time work within the Glades. But a big part of the problem is increasing public engagement, and also voter turnout, voter registration, because understandably, folks are apathetic. And that's what we hear a lot of. It's like, oh well, nothing's going to change. Sugar industry's not going to change. So the work of organizing, is hard, long work. Our campaign leaders in the community are doing a great job. of getting folks to get more engaged and get more involved. But yeah, so it's very much mixed, but it's by no means as far as, you know, the media coverage and you know, press releases by the sugar industry that you know, everybody's in lockstep against these environmentalists. That's certainly not true.
So really, it's a matter of counter messaging in the communities against messages that are probably being put forth by their own city commissions in
Yes.
Pahokee, South Bay, and Belgrade.
Yes, yes. And there, you know, there's no credible data or information put back to support the fact that if the industry were going to stop burning, that suddenly all the sugar mills would close and there'd be no agriculture in the glades. But it's unfortunate that you know, that is persistently the tagline put forth by local commissioners and leaders in the glades.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? Shar has her hand up.
He does.
Yeah.
Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Why isn't there more community outrage if they're closing schools and kids and people are getting sick? Is it just because it's not made known well enough, or?
Well, you also have to understand that folks who have been born and raised in the glades, this is what they know. This is what you know, part of their life. So yeah, when we first started organizing, what we ran into was a surprise. Like, wait, the sugar industry doesn't have to burn the sugar cane. And, you know, so that's been, you know, a lot of our focus. But, you know, as has been touched upon beforehand, you know, there is the fear of saying anything that's perceived to go against the sugar industry's interests within the community, which plays a factor as well. But you know, things are certainly changing on that front, you know, thanks to the grassroots leadership team who's been leading the campaign.
Are a lot of the communities employed in the sugar industry, or is there other industry there too?
Oh, sure. Well, agriculture in general. You know, another thing that is overlooked, that it's not just sugarcane that's grown in the Everglades agricultural area. It's the winter vegetable, you know, capital of the country. You know, sweet corn, cabbage, also sod has been growing a lot more. And, you know, there's a lot of potential as far as commercial hemp could go. But, you know, really, as far as the future goes, the Department of Energy has spent a lot of millions of dollars in grant funding for research into biofuels. And currently, the predominant source of ethanol within the country comes from corn, which is much dirtier than the ethanol that can be produced from sugarcane. And a lot of this new research involves creating genetically engineered sugar that would have more of the natural lipid oils, which could then create biofuels. And as far as you know, combating climate change and, you know, getting us off fossil fuels, it's just a fact that biofuels are going to be a huge important factor and a bridge fuel in getting us to our goals. And a lot of the effort now, especially as far as greening the shipping industry and greening the airline industry too, is developing different types of feedstocks that can produce the most efficient biofuels. And sugarcane is really the plant that you know, is best suited you know, to meet these goals. And Florida, in particular, the Everglades agricultural community, can really center itself as a center of biofuel innovation. The University of Florida has test grown what's called energy cane. And I've talked to people in that program and they say, hey, yeah, we'd green harvest it because a lot of the oils are included within the leaves. So we'd be wasting if we did burn it. And, you know, the real crime here is that the industry itself, is not being proactive in taking advantage of this, which could really provide long-term economic growth to the surrounding communities. And, all I have to say on that is just keep spreading the word and awareness of these potentials.
Debbie, did you have Deb?
Yes. Of all of the biofuel possibilities, is sugarcane the only one where you would still be using the crop for consumption of as food, as well as being able to use the trash for the biofuel?
Well, that's one of the benefits of sugarcane is that you could still, and that's where these corporate partnerships could come into play. And that's where sugarcane trash and biofuels is being utilized. It's usually the case that on site, you've got the bagasse and or the trash that comes into being processed, so you can refine the sugar, and then the waste stream is then turned into biofuels. So you could, I'm sure there are other examples, as there's a lot of research in the other types of feedstocks, but really, as far as the existing infrastructure in the glades with the sugarcane mills, it really could has the potential in the future to become the epicenter and largest source of feedstock for biofuels within the nation. And I hope community representatives and folks within the industry itself can really start seeing this potential and start investing in that future as well.
Anyone else? Well, Patrick, thank you so much. That was so informative. Really, really great presentation. And we'll be in touch because, we have a monthly newsletter. It's not like having something in the Palm Beach Post, but we can get the word out with that, and we can push. I think that as you said, there has been a lot of attention about it recently, and we've got a campaign coming up next year, and people can decide which side they're on. If no one else has anything, our next meeting is, as always, the second Thursday in the month, and the October meeting, we have the two candidates, or I hope the two candidates who are running to succeed Omari Hardy in House District 88. So we'll send out information on that. And thanks to everyone for joining in. See you next month. And thank you, Patrick, again.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And please feel free to reach out to me.
I will.
Sure. And you can share my contact information. Happy to answer any questions, provide any help I can going forward. And thank you to everybody who showed up tonight.
Great. Yeah. And by the way, we'll be putting this on our YouTube channel. So people that didn't get to see it live will be able to view it afterwards. So.
Right. Yeah. Spread the word.
Good night, everyone.
Could I follow you?
Good night. Good seeing you all.
Page.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Patrick.
Hi,
David, give the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, Mary.